Here's always been. Yes. She said it's in there.
Right now.
Okay. Just a reminder, if you're gonna speak, get to a microphone. We are live streaming this, so we want everybody to be able to hear. With that, we'll call the meeting to order and rise to the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, public forum. Does anybody wish to speak at public forum? All right. We'll look to the agenda.
Mr. Chair, members of the board, Dave Menke, County Administrator, just a correction to the consent agenda on the spelling of McKenna's name. It's with an M-A rather than an M-E, and then the start date of June 5th versus May 17th.
I'll move. Ludwig. Second. Motion by Ludwig, second by Waldham. Approve the agenda. Any discussion? If not. All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? We'll look to approve the minutes of the May 2nd, 2023 County Board minutes and summary for publication, and the May 9th special meeting committee of the whole.
I'll second.
Motion by Lovegren, seconded by Moore. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Any opposed? Minutes, correspondence, the Pine County Zoning Board minutes of March 23rd. And the Initiative Foundation correspondence from May 2nd. Ludwig will move.
Second.
Motion by Ludwig, seconded by Moore. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed? That passes. We'll look to move, approve the consent items. You've had those in front of you for several days.
I'll move the consent agenda.
Second it.
Motion by Moore, seconded by Lovegren. Any discussion?
I did have, I was on the, well, maybe I had two. Where does that put us with assessor contracts? Just two?
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner Moore, Kelly Schroeder, County Auditor Treasurer. There are still three that have their own local assessor.
Okay. You know them out there?
Sandstone, Pine Town, and Mission Creek
Okay.
Sandstone City.
Township.
I think that's all I had for you. Then I don't know, Mark, I know he hit on this a little bit, but these contracts, these were from a couple of years ago or something, wasn't it? It was.
And I think most of them are last year's. Last
was
year's
it?
final,
Okay,
yeah,
all right.
they just got the paperwork done.
Okay, thank you.
Any other? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we'll move on to the Personnel Committee report. Gonna take that.
Want me to take a map or? Okay, so we met Monday, May 8th. Made the following recommendations. And highway, acknowledge a retirement. Maintenance mechanic Derek Johnson, effective August 25th, 2023. Approve the backfill position, any subsequent vacancies that may occur to the internal promotion or not. Sure. Should I just keep do the next one and then stop? Okay. Acknowledge the resignation of Corrections Officer David Pangrel and Corrections Officer Hayden Pangrel, effective April 22nd, 2023. and approve the backfill of the positions and any subsequent vacancy that may occur due to internal promotion or lateral transfer. And I'll make a motion for them to, and then I think we'll move on.
Okay,
I'll second.
got a motion by Moore, second by Ludwig. For the retirements and resignations. Any discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay,
All right, so then, the next, deal we were working on was recommend the negotiation memorandum of understanding for the following. Elimination of step 1 of the pay scale and renumber steps 1 through 5. Year 9, year 15, performance as shown below. And this is for the corrections officers and dispatchers. Then offer a one-time retention bonus for corrections officers at the following years and amounts, and that scale is there. I think we'll just do that as one. Does that sound? I'll make a motion to approve that.
Josh made a motion to approve the new schedule as we've got in front of us.
The schedule and the retention bonus.
Yep.
Both of them.
Yep.
Was there a question too?
He made a motion. I just wanted to make sure that both the retention schedule and the.
Yeah.
Things.
So I made a motion for them. I figured we'll just.
So I'm looking for a second.
I'll second. Or you?
We'll take Lufgren or first. Any, David had some,
I just want to add, Mr. Chair,
yeah,
on the one-time bonus. It won't add to the annual. So if you do a raise later, you know what I mean? So that's why we went with that at those steps. So there isn't an exponential growth built into that.
Do you want to say something about that? Vincent?
Go ahead.
And that's kind of why I left it at this, is because I thought there would be a little more discussion, but I would just say too, we just kind of re-looked over the correction dispatcher. I mean, we're just at such critical levels. We just thought we're in the middle of a contract with these. So we've done this once before by getting rid of the step 1. It does better align us with the market. And then it just gets people there a little quicker. So it just is.
so we just jumped every step. I mean, so when a new person comes in, the new step 1 is the old step 2, basically, or 3.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, and then we didn't add any steps, so they get there a
but
little quicker.
step 9 it's the same level, they just get there quicker.
That's year 9, so that's after the steps are your anniversary.
Yeah.
Yep, so then that is still year 9, and then the 15-year is on there. So then by doing that, we just wanted to make it sure that the people that have been here a little while don't feel like they are left out. So that's why we looked at the one-time bonus and decided to go with that. So we did have a lengthy conversation. Rod presented everything like always great, and but we're just trying to, and we really are just not looking at pay. We're looking at a bunch of other stuff. I know I threw a bunch of stuff out there that I don't know how or what to do, but just trying to figure out a better way to recruit people and retain them. So
I think
everything's having.
retention also.
Yep.
We're losing because other places are laying on a lot more money.
Yeah.
I think I heard
Yeah,
a story that we lost somebody out of the jail.
Yeah.
Because
15-year employee.
they got like a $18,000 signing bonus to go to the federal prison.
Plus
It's
almost.
pretty hard to compete with that.
And we've already closed the pod.
Yeah.
because of managing the person.
And this isn't unique to us. I mean, it's just, it's a hard job. And people are deciding to do other things and the workforce just ain't there. So this makes us, at least the people that are out there, makes us look a little more attractive. To get.
We're kind of falling in line with what everybody, well, not quite as much as what everybody's opting,
Yeah.
but enough that people might not move.
Yep.
No, it was essential for the jobs and training, and you had all these counties that were there and they all talked about this issue. I mean, it's the sheriff's department and the correction officers it's a big one statewide.
I think we know from going to AMC and we're actually better off than the people that are, you know, you get to the southwest and the northwest part of the state. They're really struggling. Many of them do not have jails. They have a holding place. They have court, they can bring them back to the county. It's changed. It's gonna change the way we do business probably for a long, long time. Until when, but Reese, you probably hear about it from your colleagues around the state that it's just changed the way we don't have the jail right downstairs anymore across the hall. It's
Right.
different times we're in.
And that's part of this is just trying to give the Rod and his team the tools they need to try to get people, keep people. And I do appreciate everything they're doing down there, so, and everything all the employees are doing, so. Thank you.
Anybody got any more questions? Not all in favor of this proposal?
Hi.
Say aye. Any opposed? All right, thank you, folks.
So your work on that, I know it wasn't an easy talk or process.
Well,
It's easy
Rod
with
does
Rod
good.
because he does a good,
he
but
does a good job.
it's still, so thank you to both of you for doing that.
He lays it out pretty good, so I appreciate that. Assessor's office, we'll keep moving on. Acknowledge the resignation of property appraiser Shona Hughes effective April 27, 2023. And approve the backfill of the position, any subsequent vacancies that may occur due to internal promotion or lateral transfer. And Health and Human Services, approve the temporary staffing plan to assist the increased workload from the end of peacetime emergency waivers and to delegate to the administrator authority to adjust the plan if necessary. And if within the total state allocation, the estimated cost for 1 year plan is $158,500. The state has allocated $225,301 to the Pine County to cover the associated costs. And then in administration, acknowledge the retirement of Extension Administrative Assistant Roxanne Orvis effective May 31st, 2023, and authorize the full-time backfill of the position. Keep the position a county position and review and update the job description and authorize the backfill any subsequent vacancies that may occur due to internal promotion, lateral transfer. And in the sheriff's office, recommend the annual performance increase under section 10 of the county policy manual and set the chief deputy's salary at $110,552 effective May 26, 2023. And I will make a motion to approve the rest of that.
I'll second.
Any discussion, questions? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Hi.
Opposed? All right, thanks. That's a lot of work you guys did. It's tough. You had a lot of stuff going on, I know. And that'll move us on to the timber auction results, which I think we're all quite pleasantly pleased with, so. Craig, you wanna explain that?
Greg Beck, Pine County Land Commissioner and County Forester. We had our timber auction May 10th. We offered a little over 7,000 timber. And it brought in, after all the bids were received, a little bit over $323,000. We had approximately 10 loggers at our auction. And the sales, I passed out, I think you might have another copy here of what our mailing is for our loggers. It's a little bit more involved than the basic results of the auction. Out of our 7 sales we had a couple of them that were maybe like 200 or 300 cords in size. And then our largest one was at just a little over 2,500 cords. The value, most landowners and loggers always look at what Aspen is bringing. It is pretty much the moneymaker in the pulp industry. Our sales were anywhere from $25 a cord up to $77 a cord. And a lot of that's based on the size of the wood, the timber, also the size of the timber sales, as well as the ground conditions that are out there. The $77 cord timber was that's basically the 2,500 cords, and it sits on sand, which is can be worked at any time of the year. That sale could most likely even be worked right now, being as wet as it has been. So the soils do make a considerable difference on the value of the timber. A lot of landowners and the loggers do not like to see that. Oh yeah, the timber went up to $55 a cord on the Aspen, because then the landowners see that and think, well, maybe ours is worth that too. But there's a lot of different factors in appraising timber. And like I say, our bottom sale was like $25 a cord on stumpage. I don't know, is there any questions? It was kind of really brief.
I appreciate all of that, Greg, as a guy, when I needed some money to buy a motorcycle or something, my dad used to point to the chainsaw in the woods and, we used to sell pulp at the pulp mill in my hometown for $10 a cord. And then we had to pay a trucker to haul it. Stumpage for popple was like 50 cents a cord.
Good old days.
And saw logs were worth something. Now I look at the ash, which is beautiful, beautiful timber, and they're paying $8 a cord and $50 per popple. It's like, wow, the world has changed.
So, just roughly, how many acres were involved?
That I did not add up before. If you look on the on what we passed out for the loggers there, the mailings, they were anywhere from like 12 acres on some of the smaller ones, smaller sales upwards to 50 to 106 acres. But I didn't add up everything.
Kelly's adding.
These sales that we offered are different too. The first couple sales are thinnings, where we go out and we mark each individual tree. And what we're looking at that is to improve the growth on our oak and favor our crop trees is what we call them. So we cut a lot of the smaller, more suppressed trees around those. kind of like pulling carrots out of the garden, you know, you have to thin them out a little bit so that the other ones can grow a little bigger. And then our aspen sales, those are typically clear cut because aspen enjoys full sunlight for maximum growth. Although we do have residuals and buffer areas that we incorporate into the sales as well. The smaller sales are more attractive to our smaller loggers, of course. We have some of our larger operators, Brad Ridke is one of them, Carlson Timber, just to name a couple of them. They're geared more for our larger pulpwood sales, whereas on our smaller operators, Wayne Blinky purchased #1, True North Firewood purchased Track 2. We have other smaller operators in the county, Gibson Logging, Sodders, just to name a few of them, but they typically purchase the smaller sales, and it's good to offer a little bit of variety for every, tracks a lot of the variety of the loggers in it. We do need to keep our smaller operators in timber as well. Although this is just a small offering of what is actually available. The state has sales as well as private.
And the thing I know happens, Savvy doesn't have they don't cut their own wood. They usually contract with Patzels or Sodders or somebody.
Yeah, correct.
That's for them.
The mill, you'll see on here, the mill, Sappy, purchased 2 sales. Their main cutters in this county are Sawmill Logging as well as Carlson Timber. Who was there to bid up the sales, which is not on here, is Future Wood. And they're the ones that have Patzels cut for them, Ridke's. Sometimes Solder too will cut for them. But yes, it's the mill doesn't have their own full crews, but they contract out with local loggers.
I have one more too, Greg. Do you have any better idea on how much damage we had to our young bulls aspen?
Yeah, that's
No, winter.
the good news is I don't think it's as bad as originally thought to be, although it is horrible. If I can say that's anything decent. The state just did some flights for assessments on that, and we just received those flights this week and are overlaying them on our inventory. And then we're going to go out and see if we can actually see the damage that occurred. But some of those more severe stands, and it's your aspen stands from anywhere from 10 years of age to about 25 years of age. Some of them got nailed very hard in areas, and it's so bad you can't walk through them. It's a catastrophe in some areas, and the damage, pretty much, I would say, the severe damage is Ascove north into Carlton County, and then easterly into Wisconsin, and it pretty much didn't discriminate. It was everything from 10 to 25-year-old.
Thing they do if it's flat like that.
Well, there has been some discussion of getting equipment in and roller chopping it, smashing it back down, hoping that it will regrow again. We're also, we've done it in the past, but we have the American Bird Conservatory, and they have grants, and then they will basically do that, put it back into a younger growth. It's all through grants. So we're going to be working with them on some projects. Some of the problems is it's so remote, some of the damage. And this isn't just county. I mean, it's state, it's private, it's right across the board. So I had to wait and see position right now and be addressing the more severe damaged areas. Now, some areas are damaged, but as you know, through if you've ever walked past them clear cuts, even when they're older, there's maybe 10,000 stems per acre. And as they grow, they eventually die out and thin out to maybe like about maybe 500-600 stems per acre. So our, fingers crossed that those that are still standing fill in the gaps and the damage won't be nearly as visible in the future as first predicted. But I do believe we're going to suffer some financial difficulties on those damaged areas in about 20-25 years when it's time to harvest those stands.
I have a couple of questions, maybe. How long, you clear cut, you harvest, how long duration, years before you can harvest again? Money coming
in. In forestry terms, they call that rotation age. There's different ways of looking at it. The state is at 40 years. We're at, and some of the other counties are at 50 years of age. The difference is, you give it an extra 10 years, you're going to get an extra pulp stick or two on top, and the timber is going to be a lot more appreciated, so to speak, by the purchasers of the timber. But yet at 40 years of age, your higher quality stands will be profitable.
Based on soil type?
Soil type is a big issue, yes.
So you'd have a best case scenario and you have a worst case. Direct sunlight, sand, easy, that's your best case for aspen.
Correct, yes, and the lower growing areas would probably, you might want to stretch that out to a little longer, what we call rotation age, 50 years of age. But yeah, your better stands, site index is what they call it. A lot of those are merchantable at 40 years of age.
Yeah, I don't know much about it, but so really then you take your income and divide it by 40, and that's what you've earned per year.
That would be correct on figuring
that particular tract of land.
Yeah, on that forest stand, you could make some assumptions on that, correct?
All right, thank you.
And as Steve mentioned earlier, you go back 40 years ago and he was buying wood for 50 cents a cord. And now it's up to, we're averaging 55. I mean, and when some of those stands are more merchantable, it may be a lot higher in value at that point.
Well, then wood is one of the commodities that we're going to be running out of. Same with gravel, you can't create more. And so it's nice to have this land that will create and to keep it and be able to utilize it. This could need the wood in the future too.
Yeah, whereas gravel is not renewable. And we're having some issues from what I understand in the county trying to locate new pits where, just like a corn crop, I mean, it will eventually mature and we'll have another crop of timber.
Well, thanks, Greg.
All right, well, thank you.
Yeah, thank
I'm an interest.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Hey, thanks.
that's good.
Mr. Chair.
Just one more question, Greg. Is this, then I'll get to you, Dave. Is this considered an average cut or average sale
Yeah, I would.
over a 40-year period? Is this about how many cords you would offer?
Recently, yes, our auctions have been somewhere around anywhere from a bottom end of maybe 5,000 cords up to 8,000 cords. So this is average. What occurred years ago was we had what was called an accelerated cut.
Yeah.
Where we cut, if it was age 50, we cut all of it, which through at that point, we're cutting about 550 acres of aspen a year. And now we're down to about 300 because of that. And we're going to hit what's called, in forestry terms, they call it the wall. And what that is it's when what you've cut in the past isn't quite mature yet. And there's going to be a wall of young timber that's not quite ready to cut. So in a few years, maybe 5 or so, we're going to be experiencing that. And then at that point, we may be harvesting some of our younger stands to try to make up for it. And, like our 40-year-old timber, maybe even a little bit younger than that on our higher quality sites. And then after that point, there'll be a lot more timber that has matured, and then we can address that. So right now, I would say, this is a fairly average auction for right now.
Thanks.
Yeah, thank you.
David's got a question.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It doesn't involve you, Greg. The consent agenda, there was a misprint where there was a Hayden Brown and a David Pengro who resigned as correction officers. It printed as Hayden Pengro. So I just wanted to clarify, 2 correction officers, Hayden Brown, David Pengro, they're the 2 that resigned. Is that accurate, Debbie? So I just wanted to be sure that everybody was tracking on that if you caught that error on the agenda.
I didn't know it was an error. But thank you. All right, we'll move on to commissioner updates. The Gallagher health insurance meeting. Who can report on that?
It was a pre-insurance meeting.
We met him. Basically, it was a meet.
So right now we have, to me, if I'm wrong, $699,192 in our account, which is good because we have a balance. So that's really good. So we're looking at a possible dental increase. We probably will have a dental increase, and vision looks like it will be good. The insurance meeting is actually this week on Thursday.
Oh,
So we'll find out more. This was just a pre-insurance meeting to let us know where things were at, and so we had a better idea.
and Justin
Justin
is
is
no longer with them.
And Justin was so incredible that were there 4 people in that meeting?
Okay,
So, I mean, he was very good. We're gonna miss Justin, but I think that we have a good team.
but we think we're still in good hands.
Yeah. Like I said, it's a good team. There were 4 of them that were there, so they all 4 did like a little different things.
Okay.
And so, they'll be working together.
East Central Solid Waste, we're still moving along forward on the application for next cell. That's coming along.
How long does it take to build one?
They're gonna do a lot of the work themselves, some pre-work, so a lot of dirt moving will be done. Our new assistant guy is kind of into that, so that'll help, but it'll take a construction season. I mean, the big job is to put that liner in. If you've ever helped anybody put a pool liner in, you know how nerve-wracking and frustrating that would be. Well, this is like a liner in a 5-acre field. It's there's a lot of rubber to put down. So that takes us some specialized equipment and people. But then we'll be ready for 7-8 more years. And then the other thing is, the generator that I've talked about that's there is owned by Simpa, which is a co-op that sells to municipalities, or they're a grid made up of municipalities. And they're like, not big into these generators, so. And they've had a lot of issues with it. The thinking is maybe, as that contract nears its end, there are companies that buy, that's their job. They own generators at landfills all over the United States, all over the world. And one of those companies would come in and take over the management of this, and we think we'd have much better results, you know. Anyway, time will tell. East Central Regional Library.
So the fun news is that we're closing the Sandstone Library from May 29th to June 3rd to move everything from the old library into the new library. And they figured that they'll have a soft opening at the new library. They don't think it'll take that long to get everything moved in there. But the library should be opening after the 3rd of June. We did do an naloxone training with the Steve Rumler Hope Network. No decisions are being made yet what to do, but everybody was there to get the information, and they did the full presentation. So anybody that was there was able to take some naloxone home with them. And then we'll see what people think about where that's going to go, that action, if it's going to be something that we'll hand out at the libraries, or if we'll just have it in the first aid kits, like the AEDs, so that people can treat other people if they have needs. The CMLE, and I don't know what that stands for, I'll be honest. But they had been meeting, I want to say over by Malacca, and they sold this building that it was in, and everything is just kind of closing down on people that were administering that don't want to administer it anymore. And so we did vote to have East Central Regional Library do a proposal to host that for 1 year, and it would pay a little bit more than what the expenses would be for the employee that would take care of that, and then see where they want to go. She figured that there'd be 3 or 4 more places that would put in a proposal. So we're going to see where that's going to go. It said that the legacy fund was increased by 2.15 million. And they're not real sure how that's going to be handed out yet, but it looks like the library is going to be getting some more money. And then there was a lot of talk about the 75-cent delivery fund that they're talking about passing at the legislature. If that was going to affect all the things that came into the library, and thinking about that countywide too, we get a lot of things delivered to the county. Will we have to pay the 75 cents per delivery on that if it passes? It's just that process. But it did come out that that is not going to be a library situation. So that's the library.
All right. Soil and water.
Yeah, I attended by Zoom. I would just say the business as usual. I have the minutes if anybody wants to look at it more in detail.
You know how many trees they've sold this year?
Yeah, it's in the minutes.
Okay.
It's pretty much the same. I mean, it's my trees sell trees still seems to be doing pretty good.
So I had a talk with Paul about that, because at our extension meeting, we were talking about how Carlton County sells flowers and Pine County doesn't have a lot of those things. Well, what Paul had said was Pine County sells trees. We don't sell the flowers, but Carlton County sells flowers and they don't sell the trees. So I checked, and so it's nice that we can work together with the different soil and waters and get those things that we want.
The master gardeners sell flowers.
Right, but this is like wildflower seeds and.
Oh.
Yeah, so this is the seeds for flowers.
Pollinator plots and
Yeah.
stuff. Okay.
Yeah. So it's kind of neat that we can.
Yeah.
Get with that.
Kettle River, Paul. How's that coming?
Canceled. We're having a next one.
Oh, that was a short meeting then. Shack meeting.
We talked a lot about the COVID emergency is now over, and talked about legislature concerning hospitals. David sent out an email earlier also about the change the legislature's making, because that they're going to give more. How many employees you need to have.
Yeah, it's true.
And the talk of Mayo, maybe Sheila talked a lot about Mayo. You know, we're so blessed to have the Mayo here. But if things come down the way that the legislature wants, there's a lot of other states that want the Mayo. And so we may end up losing, which was a big part of the conversation that we had. So you're right, it is important to reach out to those legislatures and say, hey, you know, we need you to think about the whole picture. So.
I got a question.
Yeah.
So COVID's over. David, maybe David is better for this. Is everybody back to work then at the county, back at their desks, their cubicle, back to since,
Everybody is back to work, right? Everyone
yeah,
is working.
right, but back to where
Are
we back to pre-COVID where everybody was at?
We have employees who work regularly from home and from the field, and they will continue to do that.
We were gonna put a big addition on the courthouse. How much was that gonna cost to do that?
$3.5 million.
And that was before COVID, so it's more than that now. And because people are able to work at home, and we've got a lot of really good department heads that are checking to make sure that they're doing the work that they need to do. We have some employees that can't work at home and they come into the office. But if they were all coming back into the office, we would be needing to put that addition on the courthouse to house all the employees. So it was
Interesting.
actually when the employees, like the employees that do really good at home, they like working at home. And there's times that you get messages back from them at like 6 a.m. and you're going, you're not working yet. Stop it. But I was talking to somebody the other day from Human Services and she said, I love my job. I have to make myself stop because when they're at home, they can work more. And I know that when I worked at home, I did a lot more than I did because you don't have the interruptions. So it's a good win-win.
How many employees is that then? That you would, if you had to put a number on it,
It's about 70 that regularly work from home.
70. And they never worked from home before.
Well, we didn't have the technology probably before. Some of them, we started a work from home policy with public health actually, probably 7, 8 years ago, was it, Becky?
Yeah, I think before when is the question, because we've had a mobile work policy for at least 7 years, probably longer.
How's our equipment holding up in that? That's.
You know, everywhere you go, that's one of the big cases they're talking about is with the workforce shortages that we're having. If people can work from home, you're able to get people from different states that can work for you or people from different areas. And it just makes it so that we've got better accessibility to getting the employees that we need to do the jobs everywhere but the jail and the sheriff's office.
I know, downtown real estate office building, worldwide. It's, wondering what's gonna happen because, a lot of those buildings pretty much are half empty. And because people found out there can be very productive working from wherever they're working from. And so they don't need that, rent that office space anymore or own it. Things have, the world has changed. Chemical Health Coalition.
It was a good meeting. We talked about the opioid, we talked about the opioid forum that we had, and we talked about the opioid issue. One of the things that I brought up in there that we talked about was, I attended one of the ECHO meetings and it was from Hazelton, Betty Ford. And it's all Minnesota back, so it's just very interesting, but they were talking about adolescent cannabis and what the cannabis is going to do. And they talked about the CBD and what the fact that has alone right now. And I didn't realize it, but they're putting it, if you go to a brewery, you can buy a brewery that's infused with cannabis and it takes anywhere from 1 to 3 hours to hit. So people are drinking with their buddies and up with their buddies that aren't doing the cannabis. And then all of a sudden, or not the cannabis, but the CBDs. And then all of a sudden the CBD hits. And a lot of times you're on our road. So that's going to be a big thing for our sheriff's department too, is how to, and we talked about that last Tuesday, how are we going to handle if when cannabis is legal and, you know, we've got CBD is legal right now, and how do you handle the impaired drivers? It's gonna get interesting, but some of the facts that were, scary is that if you are a kid, and the kids are anywhere from 13 to 17 years old, they said that studies show that youth with the first episode of cannabis, 50% will have a lifetime cannabis use. It can cause permanent depression, and you do go through withdrawals. They talked about one mom that their child had a hard time sleeping, so they were giving them CBD gummies. And it didn't work, so they gave her another one. And she said, I don't understand why they're not waking up. You know, they're just not in the right frame of mind. And, you know, so the doctor had to say, well, you know, you shouldn't be giving them any, and you're giving them two. So there's so much misinformation out there. You know, people are saying that it doesn't do any harm, but in all reality, it does. Kids, when they use it, it does affect their brain growth compared with a home being built the same as with trauma. So I think we're kind of in for some scary times.
Lakes and Pines, mostly approved contracts, and of course, Pine County was in it. Part of Lakes and Pines, and so I was happy to see that grants continue to come from various sources to cover things like fuel assistance and fixing up houses.
I have another,
Start and those kinds of things.
How did they do with the fuel assistance? I know that they had said last year that they had a lot more money and people were expecting to keep that.
It was a nightmare for them this year because they did not have the funds to fulfill all the requests that came in. They're getting caught up, but now it's easier to get caught up when it's more amount. And so it's an issue that I don't know how it's going to play out for the future, Terry. I did not get a good answer for, you know, what next winter's coming.
Right.
We know that. So what are we going to do next winter? I don't. That they haven't
had money so much that,
right.
and then they didn't have it to hand out. So yeah.
I have another, Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Just an update. You guys all know I was on that probation work group down. Well, there was a pretty big glitch a week or so ago. And we ended up with first the background for the JJ. We haven't had funding that we're supposed to get state since about 1996.
Really?
For the probation funding, so.
And nothing came out of the surplus they had this time.
That's what we're fighting. We went into this thinking we'd try to fix that. So, and they funded us, they're supposed to fund us 50%, and they've been averaging, I think, around 28%. And it's a mandate, it's a state mandate. Well, anyway, so we had this work group going down there, and in the end, there was some mistakes made, not by our group, but by Department of Corrections, and we thought we were going to lose about 6 point some million from it. We redid the whole thing. But we wanted to keep the base funding in place. So we're in the end, we ended up with $150,000 base funding. We got the capitated rate, and we got that 6 point whatever million. The state back, and it's not coming out of our side. It's going to be replaced by these things. I think we're going to be whole. No, I don't. But there's some caveats in that. They want to take away the fees that we've been charging them, and we argued that we waive them if somebody can't afford it. But if somebody can't afford it, we're going to put a brace on them, and all this cost that stuff. There's a fee. So, and it's a fair process. We're very careful. You know, we have a great team in probation. So what they agreed to do was, so they're going to sunset that in 4 years. 27. So we're gonna go back to the drawing board and try to negotiate and explain that there wasn't enough time in this session to get hung up on a detail like that.
Right.
Cause it was so confusing, because every agency is so different. So we wanted to just get the basic funding rules in place, so. It was a win.
But those fees make you think twice about doing
The fees
what you've
matter.
done. Yeah,
That gives us an agent right now. Almost,
but it's also a consequence for your actions.
yes,
And coming up with money is,
exactly.
yeah,
And that, and that's our point.
yeah,
The whole point in probation is consequences.
right.
Anyway,
Hopefully we
so
get
we're,
this.
it went in, it's out of conference committee, waiting for a governor to sign. It was a
Money.
battle.
That's,
Well, we had to work the phones. We were, a lot of phone calls. Anyway.
So by next Tuesday, we'll know, right? Hopefully. What really happened? Well, they're supposed to vote on public safety today, I think.
Yeah, with Mr. Chair, we might know what happened. We might not know fully what it means.
Right.
But then there's one more thing.
Yeah.
I have Dave help explain this, but there's a scary thing coming out of the legislature, and as they call it, a employee ratio thing they're trying to get. You want to talk about that at all, Dave? Because it might have a huge impact on us.
Well, there's changes proposed for the Public Employee Labor Relations Act. And so that would change the definition of items that must be bargained. And so I don't know exactly where that stands. There was some language that was in the House bill that was not, that was in the Senate bill. There was language that was in the bills that came out of the committees for the House and the Senate. The Senate made some amendments on the Senate floor to get a conference committee. I'm not sure what the latest is on that, but like, I think as Steve said, we'll know in a week.
But it's scary.
Yeah, well, it would change the bargaining environment significantly. And Terry, you mentioned Mayo earlier. If you read the headline today, you'll see that there's negotiation to carve Mayo out.
Oh,
So
so they know that it's wrong, but they'll only take one facility out.
well, it's, as I understand it, and I only know what I glanced at in the newspaper this morning, but it would carve out any hospital that was in greater Minnesota that had a software management system similar to the one that Mayo has. So then that may all have changed in the last 2 hours. I don't know.
Yeah.
Any other? I just want to thank Jeff for the great last week. Your department put on a really great presentation. We appreciate that. And I think my takeaway from the day that I've told people is you should be awful proud to live in Pine County and know what we have for a sheriff's department here. So thank you. Anything else that needs to come before the board?
I've seen one thing if I can. It was in the packet, the Initiative Foundation. Was the Initiative Foundation received a payment of support? It didn't have the amount of the payment. I could circle back to Dave later.
Like $7,500.
Yeah, it's like 7,350 maybe. It's right in that $7,000 range. The county board has made that contribution annually for a number of years. The Initiative Foundation usually comes to present to a county board meeting every year. And we don't have them scheduled yet, but I anticipate they'll do the same this year.
They do a lot of loans to businesses here and startups. We get about 4 times back every year, 4 to 5 times back. Only.
And I think it's more than that.
I think it is more than that. Yeah.
For every dollar we put in, we get, I don't know, if it's 6 or 7 back or something.
All right, thank you.
Any other business? If not, we'll declare the meeting